fit into the expected National Development Plan with quantifiable targets that ensure the proper forward and backward linkages in the economy. This economic spreadsheet would have knowledge, finance, and technology at its basis. But on coming into office, we will abrogate any EPA signed unilaterally with the EU. We do not believe that these kind of agreements should be signed unilaterally with giant blocs like the EU. They are more impositions than agreements. We believe Ghana is safer, stronger, and better in a properly functioning ECOWAS, and we will therefore stand by Nigeria in seeking to negotiate such agreements collectively. And before MPP come here to give you a list of district industries they intend to establish, let me remind you that the CPP has done this before. All the factories were largely sold or given away or abandoned by the PNDC, NDC, and the MPP. Steelworks in Tema and Takrady, atomic energy in Kwabania, an industrial machine workshop in Tema, the Akosombo Dam, cement factory in Tema, coconut fiber and ceramic processing near Salt Pond, rattan or cane or basket weaving and bamboo processing in Eastern Region, rubber plantation and gold refinery in Western Region, Pwanlugu tomato factory as well as Zwanrugu meat factory in Bo. Successive governments have systematically destroyed these fortunes, do not believe in self-determination, and have made us beggars. But we also know that we have to reduce interest rates and taxes, solve the energy problem, and improve conditions for doing business. We shall improve the speed of setting up businesses and other administrative processes by improved online platforms. The whole essence of civil and public services is to serve the needs of the people. We will engineer civil and public sector reforms just for that. We will ensure priority ministries, departments, and agencies clearly map out the services they render, how to access it, and how much each service costs. This act alone will empower and eliminate undue delays and bribe-taking and shall be part of our large anti-corruption efforts. We will also ensure they have commitment statements describing how long it takes to deliver their services, and every CEO or head of an agency will be held accountable for these commitment statements. As president, I will meet these CEOs twice a month to check how they are delivering to the people. And everybody has agreed that we need to make Ghana the petroleum refining hub of the West African sub-region. But it can't be that alone. Steps have to be taken to properly take full advantage of the associated industries. And to do this, we will establish an advanced machine tools industry with highly trained and skilled technicians and machinists from our polytechnics and technical colleges and universities. For this to succeed, technology is key, and it's the greatest enemy to poverty, lack of technology. And we will ensure its proper linkage to agriculture and industry. Our own experts here in Ghana, across the divide, have done so much research that we've never even used. And this even falls in the area of climate change. And as you know, climate change is reshaping human civilization. How we respond will determine the future of our species. I will fully implement the National Climate Change Adaptation Strategy. And it is that same technology that we will apply to energy. In his book, I believe it was a best-selling book, by the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. In his book, Audacity of Hope, he said, and I quote, "A nation without the means to control its energy requirements is a nation without the means to guarantee its security." We will show you how our approach will lead to a reduction in the cost of electricity over time. What we are offering is a medium to long-term solution to the country's chronic energy deficit. And Ghana has huge renewable energy resources waiting to be tapped. We have to be creative. Let's look across the waters of the Atlantic. Currently, the United States is working on a 3,000 megawatt wind park in South Wyoming. The wind park covers 1,000 hectares with 1,000 wind turbines. In fact, the US is implementing a wind energy program to ensure that 20% of its energy mix would come from wind by the year 2030, only 14 years away. In South Korea, the government has set up an ambitious target of 2.4 gigawatts over the next 9 years for offshore wind power. Under my presidency, Ghana will do it bigger and better. Our research and the proposals that I am now going to put to you have been conducted by one of Ghana and CPP's foremost engineers, Robert Wood. No, you don't have to look. He's not here. He's not here to stand. My fellow Ghanaians, it is common knowledge that the Volta River lies between two parallel mountain ranges. The river lies within a wind corridor that is a trough. The unique topography of that area generates this wind corridor as a result of the globe turning on its axis at 1,040 miles per hour and orbiting the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. Installing wind turbines in this corridor will utilize the wind energy. Standard wind turbines at an average height of 120 meters with a diameter of 85 meters would generate 3 megawatts of energy per unit. The wind corridor stretching from Ada to the north is over 1,000 kilometers. Our studies indicate that it is the biggest and most reliable wind corridor in the whole of Africa. And for your information, there are tidal waves peculiar to this area. That is why if you go along that zone, you'll see everybody has stones on their roofs because of the wind that is generated in this corridor. We must take advantage of this free gift of nature. Installing these turbines at a distance of 300 meters, triangular, should produce 9,900 towers or 29,700 megawatts of energy. Given the wind outage of approximately 66% over the whole stretch of that 1,000 kilometers, it should be able to generate 9,000 megawatts of energy at all times. This would meet our energy needs cheaply, with sufficient left over for sale to neighboring countries, raking in additional revenue for government. Modern wind turbines are manufactured from fiberglass and can be produced from a reactivated Abossel glass factory. Notice I did not mention Abossel glass factory in the long list of enterprises that CPP has set up which have been allowed to fall and go away. And this will provide a large potential market for any investor willing to take advantage in the reactivation of the Abossel glass factory. Less than 2 megawatts of electrical power is needed to cover the total needs of the factory. But of course, Ghana's energy will still be a mix of wind, solar, hydro, thermal, and crude oil, and of course biomass. And perhaps even we could consider nuclear, but on a regional basis because it's so costly. But talking about biogas energy and forward and backward integration, let me tell you one final thing about the almond tree, the Abrofo Inkatia tree. Almond has a high protein cake of 42%. It can be used to replace soya bean as the main protein base for the poultry industry. Fish farmers would benefit from the use of almond cake combined with cocoa pod extract that is high in potash. A strong poultry and fish industry would provide extra energy for the economy, as both poultry fat and fish oil could be used to generate electricity. Additionally, poultry litter could even be used for biogas. And since the quantities of animal feed in Ghana are rather small, almond cake could be used as a supplement for all sectors and help to reduce the supply deficit. The poultry industry in Ghana and Africa today is in crisis because of high feed inputs and cheap meat imports. As well as that, the cheap almond nut cake protein could ensure, if we chose to, that the entire Volta Lake could be transformed into the biggest fish pond in the world. But now briefly, let me take a look at education. And looking at our educational profile, in South Korea, 60% of the population has higher education, while ours is 3%. There are fundamental changes that need to be made in our educational system. The debate between the NDC and NPP about duration, free, cost, classrooms is the least of the problems bothering Ghana's educational system. These are cosmetic changes. Let's ask ourselves, do we teach our students to be useful to society or reduce them to mere liabilities? Some have said we even have unemployable graduates. So what we need in our educational system is a seismic curricular shift and redirection. The fundamental structure of our education in terms of what we teach and how we are teaching it has to be changed to make it 21st century relevant. We must teach skills. After all, the essence of education is to give the citizens basic skills and values that will enable them lead decent lives. We shall ensure that those educated are linked to all facets of economic and social life. To make this possible, we will drastically improve the working conditions of teachers and educational workers at all levels and reorient them towards our overall national agenda and plan. Our vision of education is ICT technology-based with a distance learning model aimed at equalizing disparity between urban and rural areas with continuous education. In terms of health, we will continue to support and enhance the NHIS and look at innovative ways to increase funds made available. We shall ensure that politicians aren't able to meddle in the affairs of NHIS and that health professionals run the scheme and professional managers of money run the fund. We will also try to do more to mitigate the effects of road traffic accidents. Figures have it that apparently 1.25 million road traffic accidents in the entire world every year. Out of that figure, 50% are taking place in developing countries. We will improve our emergency services as there is a clear lack of proper trauma care facilities on our roads. In maternal health, we will try and improve access to care when in labor, because although there is antenatal care, many pregnant women are not receiving treatment when they are in labor. This is causing needless deaths, especially in the case of physically challenged women. We will also try and make sure they have that proper access. It is also important, and we will also make sure we do it, strengthen our public health interventions. But additionally, and finally on health, doctors have to pay for their postgraduate studies, while still causing many of them to leave to go abroad to carry out those studies. And that is because they have to pay for it. The CPP will make such postgraduate education for doctors free. as is the case in many countries abroad that are serious about retaining their health professionals. But besides education and health, housing, especially affordable housing, both in terms of ownership and rental, is one of the most important aspects of a responsive social policy. And I've already stated earlier that 53% of households in Accra are living in a single room. We will pass the reviewed Rent Control Act immediately we assume office. We must come together and tear down the barriers that we have all erected that makes it nearly impossible to progress in life. The Rent Act clearly stipulates that you are only supposed to pay 6 months' rent to a landlord, but despite this law, we have all come to accept paying 2 to 3 years' rent. This makes life very, very difficult for newly employed people who must go and borrow at high interest rates, and that makes it unbearable for young people to move forward and build their dreams. A roof over a man or a woman's head is a basic right. Let us be realistic. With the mismanagement we have suffered, not everybody can own their own house immediately. My government would restore social housing as a duty of government. We shall bring back things like Kaneshi Estates and Ifiakuma Estates for all Ghanaians, whilst making it easier for people to own their own houses through reforms in the construction industry and the encouragement of local building materials. Affordable is supposed to mean affordable.